We've got some breaking news out of China about Australian trade. According to the Reuters news organisation, China has suspended barley imports from a specific Australian company. It is called CBH Grain, and the supposed reason is because they have discovered quarantine pests in this particular batch of barley. Barnaby, I don't know if you can do it off the top of your head, but CBH Grain, big company?
I know CBH is a massive. CBH is a West Australian cooperative. It's probably the largest exporter of grain in Australia. West Australia has the largest grain export. So an Australian cooperative owned by Australian farmers. And this is yet another form, I believe, of retaliatory actions. It really foreshadows the new world we live in, where China is now realises they've retained the goal they want. They will have people as supplicants. They'll have people who are preferentially deferential to them, and make sure that they say the right things at the right times and nothing else. And if you dare do anything else, and we know the Australian journalist of Chinese heritage, Chung Lai, I think, if I get the pronunciation right, they've just swept her off the street and put her in jail. She went to the University of Queensland. And we've got to be fully aware of the world we are working in, and this is how the game is going to play. And if we get a Pax Americana sort of basically paling off, and we get more of an isolationist United States, then the game ahead of us for Australia is going to be an incredibly serious one, and it's going to need the best players on the balls of their toes to play it. So this CBH thing, that is serious. That is big time serious for our nation. Because,
Senator Patterson, again, right, we know about the laws that were introduced or discussed and announced last week. There were 5 different things in the propaganda arm today in the Global Times, including dredging up the old quote about Australia being the poor white trash of Asia. And then, miraculously, a day later, quarantine pests found in a major producer of barley.
That's right, Paul. It's very timely, actually, because today the Australian Strategic Policy Institute published a paper on all the instances of economic coercion that the Chinese government had engaged in recent years. There's more than 100 examples affecting dozens and dozens of other countries, and this has clearly become the modus operandi. As China becomes larger and more powerful in an economic sense, it is seeking to use that economic power for political ends and to coerce its trading partners into a effectively supplicant relationship whereby any criticism of China is punished economically, any disagreement with China is punished economically, any criticism of the Chinese Communist Party in particular is singled out for special punishment. And it is not a good way to have a good, sustainable, long-term trading relationship, and it further emphasises the need for Australia to start diversifying our trade as much as possible. And that's something that the government is very aggressively pursuing with more trade agreements with big trading partners like the European Union, the United Kingdom and others.
Can we do that, Barnaby?
India, yeah, dead right. And James is hot on the money there. Dead right. You've got one big client, one big problem. They always remember that. And China knows the game. They've been doing this for 5,000 years. And mind you, might I say, it is not the Chinese people, right?
Of course.
The Chinese people, most of my family, my nephews and nieces, are Chinese, right? So it's not the Chinese people, but it's the regime that is currently ensconced in Beijing, which is another sort of dynasty, another sort of empirical dynasty that is there. So they want to make sure that they are seen supreme for the maintenance of their own power base. And for us, that means that you will be seen as the supplicant state, word I use, then James used, and I'm using again. And so we have to broaden our trading base. We have to become very close with India and make sure that we have a strong trading relationship with them. Don't ever ban your live cattle trade to Indonesia ever again. Don't make mistakes like that, because you would need Indonesia nice and close and strong. You need to open up your trading avenues into a new sort of Europe and England, because there's an advantage there, there's an opportunity there. United States, you've got to stay close to them because they're a democracy, fellas, a democracy. Believe in the rule of law, separation of powers, handy people to have as friends. If you want to swim with the people who don't believe in that, well, the answer's to your north, and it's the totalitarian regime in Beijing. And we've got to be smart. And whether it's us or the Labor Party, if you get this wrong, you are creating a hell for your children and your grandchildren.
Absolutely, well said. Could somebody get this bloke onto the front lines of the fight, please? God love you, Barnaby.